Hey there, guys. Hope you're good. So it's going to be a little live today, and we're going to be talking about the different levels of online personal training and how you can actually apply these into your own business. Now, before I get started, I just want to make sure that I am actually live and you can see and hear me. So I'm just going to double check on the screen now. Looks like I am. Yeah. Hey, LaRosa. Hey, man. Just checking on the comments to make sure they're coming through. We've got 5 on. That's a good start. So we've been on here for a few seconds. So if you are watching and you can do, just make sure you say hi. Hey, Sarah, how you doing? Awesome. Loads of people here today. Cool. So we're probably going to be, it's probably going to be about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes this session, depending how many questions people have. Like I said, I want to try and do at least one kind of big live like this, one live training each month if I can inside the group. We'll try and do more with some guests in, but this month I did have a guest in line, but they couldn't make it, unfortunately. So I'm going to try and bring them on for next month. But now you get to put with me for the next 40 minutes or so. Now, as we go through this, if you do have any questions whatsoever, please do let us know. It's going to be a bit of a practical one too. So we are going to look at, first of all, the different levels of online personal training, like where they actually fit, all the way from automated programs right the way through high-end customized programs that you might use in high ticket, for example. And then we're going to look at how to actually set them up inside PTD and show you how you can actually have one setup inside PTD will actually allow you to cover all of those as well. And that's what we're going to go through today. So without further ado, I'm going to go and bring up my screen. I put a little presentation together for you because I'm nice like that. Cool. So hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. I think so. Looks good. Looks like you can see my screen okay. Perfect. It's coming through. There's a little bit of delay, you see, between what I'm saying and what's coming up and what's actually on the screen. So that's why I'm taking a minute or so to make sure you can actually see everything all going here. So today we'll talk about the 6 different levels of online personal training and how to deliver them using PT distinctions. That's going to be our main focus for today. So I'm going to get straight into it. I want to talk about what those different levels are, these different levels of coaching and coaching approaches you can do in any kind of online program, really. Now, I'm talking here specifically about online personal training. There are different things you can do online. So, for example, you have online only, you have hybrid, which is like a cross between the two, which is really, really popular at the moment. In fact, I think unless you're actually offering even an online or hybrid element to your business now, I think you may struggle in the future. I think it's an expectation now from most people, or most public anyway, to have at least some kind of online element to supplement your coaching business. And then you have, of course, the kind of all-in-person stuff, but you can still use the app to help with booking and tracking results and that kind of thing as well. So that's not really what I'm talking about today. What I want to talk about today really is, from an online point of view, what are the different types of programs you can deliver? And we actually have 6 of them that you can see up on the screen now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see they're kind of going up in order, if you like, from lowest to highest. And what's interesting with these numbers here is, generally speaking, from what we're seeing from the data, that number 1 tends to be the more lower price stuff. Number 6 tends to be the more higher price stuff. So it tends to go up in terms of value, but it also goes up in terms of time invested into the program itself. Now, the reason I'm saying program itself is, we'll find out in a moment, that when you don't invest time into your program, more of that time tends to go into the sales and marketing and managing the actual clients and members, I suppose, than actually trying to coach them. But we'll talk about that in a bit more detail as we go through it. So, like I say, as I go through this, feel free to interrupt me as we go through and ask any questions that you like, and I'll do my best to try and answer them. So let's start right at the bottom down here. Number 1. This is probably the most commonly accepted version of an online program. This type of online program, if you like, has been around for a long, long time, way before likes of online software that like PT Distinction existed. This is the idea of like a 100% hands-off, fully automated program where you have literally 0 interaction with the client. A good example of this might be a PDF that you download. Let's say you've gone to a website, you pay a few dollars and you download a PDF and it's got a program inside there. I mean, that type of program has been around for a long, long time. Of course, you can deliver this kind of stuff through PTD. You can deliver it in a much better way than you can with a PDF. I think if you're using something like this for a software you've got today, you're going to have much better results in terms of upselling people with PDF than using PDFs. And I think it's an important thing to remember what these automated programs are normally for, especially if they're in that PDF format. Normally, they're a stepping stone into something else. One of the things that we tend to see a lot over at PTD Ninja when we're talking to our members is that they go, oh, but this person only charges this for this program. They only charge $19 to get this program. Like, how can I go and charge like $2,000-$3,000 or even $100 if somebody's selling this for $19? And the thing to remember is 99% of the time they're not actually selling it for $19. That $19 program is normally the first step of what is quite a long funnel. And a lot of people will call this in other businesses like a loss leader. Generally speaking, they probably won't make any money on that. When you take into account the advertising, the marketing, they probably won't make a huge amount of money on that PDF download or that $19 program. But what that will do is help build up that know, like, and trust relationship to help them move on to the next level. And it's that next level where most of their money is made and most of their profits made. So if you're ever wondering, when you're looking around, doing your research, looking at other people's programs, and all you see on the face value of these $20 programs or whatever they are, don't be disheartened. Don't think that's just what the going rate is. That's just the first step. The only way you'll really know what they're actually selling is if you actually go and purchase that program and go through that process to find out what they're actually selling. But I can tell you now, there's not many people out there that are going to make a huge amount of money just from selling fully automated programs. They normally lead on to something else, and that's where most of their money is made from. That's the majority of trainers that we see. So there you go. That's the first level, automated, hands-off, no interaction with the client whatsoever. The next one we're going to talk about is what we call supported automation. So this here is the program delivery is automated, but you offer support through a group format. So the idea is you might do some kind of group coaching through Facebook, for example. You might do live videos or something like that. But the idea is a client will get involved with this program, and then they would you'll start communicating with them through the likes of a Facebook group, WhatsApp group, Messenger, whatever it will be. Now, with that, you could still have them download a PDF to do it. But again, there's much better ways to do this. It's better to deliver these through PT Distinction and actually have some of these tracking metrics in place. And as we'll see later, you can build automated programs and have them deliver automatically through PTD. Next thing on here, we have level 3, which is semi-automated. So semi-automated, this is where the program delivery is automated and support is offered via in-app feedback. So this is more specific to PT Distinction or any kind of app really that allows you to do some kind of in-app feedback. But we're going to focus obviously on PT Distinction here because this allows you to do all these things that we're talking about now. So the idea here is you will deliver the program in an automated way. And yes, you can still have support through a Facebook group or some other like group and community, which I do think building a community around your services is a really good idea. But you're going to offer specific feedback to the clients through the app. So that's the idea here. So you might not change and adapt stuff. The program itself will be completely delivered, but you are going to give them feedback. You might say, oh, maybe you could try doing this, or have you ever thought about this, or how did this go for you? The idea is just to help push them back in line. And the best way to think about these kind of programs is imagine you have an end goal and you have a starting point and you've got a map. And you know the path that the client needs to take between the starting point and their end goal. And all you're doing is letting them follow that path because you're giving them that route they've got to follow. This is the route they have to follow. And every now and again, they might teeter off that route. And instead of actually letting them get lost, all you're doing is going to push them back onto that route again to make sure they don't get lost and they can reach their end goal. That's effectively what this level 3 type of online coaching is, the semi-automated. Now, these work particularly well. In fact, support automation, automated and semi-automated work really, really well if you know exactly who your avatar is. And when I mean exactly who your avatar is, you should be able to nail down an individual person and describe them to me. Because if you do that and you have a good idea who your avatar is, you'll know exactly where they're starting from and exactly where they're going to finish or where they want to finish and exactly what barriers are going to get in their way as they try and follow this path. You're going to know all of that before they even sign up, before you even met them, because all your marketing, your message that you're putting out there, everything is going to be around attracting that particular type of person into your program. And that's where that semi-automated approach tends to work really well. It's also very, very scalable, but it has to be very specific to a type of avatar. If it's too general, that's where you'll struggle with that. And yes, you could still deliver it to them, but I think an important thing to remember whenever you're offering any type of these automated, supported automation or semi-automated programs is that you're promising a result to your client. And that's basically what they're buying your program for. Like, nobody really buys anything unless you're solving a problem for them. They have a problem and you're promising them a solution, a result by the end of it. That's the only reason they're buying your program. And they're not experts, so they don't know. They don't know whether they have to eat something or exercise or do whatever they have to do, because they're buying your program for them to know how to go and do that. So as they go through this process here, if they're going through it and they go off path and it's not right for them, or that particular route you're giving them is not suitable to them, then they're not going to get the result that you promised them. That's not their fault. That's your fault as a coach, because you promised them a particular result. So if you're going to have an automated, supported automation or semi-automated program, you need to really know your avatar inside and out and make sure you're attracting the right people into the program in order to make sure you keep getting results for the majority of people. Because if you don't get results from the majority of people, that's when you're going to start getting bad reviews. That's when you're going to actually start having a bit of an issue, because realistically, we're only as good as the product we actually serve and the service we actually offer. So we have to get results for them. And it's without those results, our businesses aren't going to last that long. So it is really important that you do understand who your client is if you want to go down this particular route. The next one here we have is custom automation. This is probably the most popular setup we tend to do over at PT Ninja for people. When people come along to us and talk about their programs, this is generally the area where most people want to fit. It's also a good place to start out as well. And it's this particular setup here that we actually offer inside our PT Ninja 101 course and our online personal training certification, because this particular model will allow you to actually get a really good understanding of PT distinction, but also a good understanding of what works well online. And it'll allow you to take what you currently do in person and put it in an online environment that you can tweak and adapt for the type of client that you want to work with. So it's a really, really good place to go. Now, custom automation, this idea is the program is delivered automatically, but you will adapt it to the program. So again, this will require some kind of software to do it. Well, the only softwares, I'm always going to think I'm slightly biased here, but one of the softwares I've seen that does this is PT Distinction. In fact, I've tried to do this kind of approach with other software and not been able to do it as effectively as I can inside PT Distinction, which is always good because we know it's such a good software. But this approach here is probably one of the most popular ones, and it's one I would always recommend to start with if you're not sure which way to go. So like I say, the program is delivered automatically, but is then adapted to suit the client once that content has been delivered. So it basically does all the heavy lifting for you and allows you just to adapt and adjust as required. So the next one up again, this is semi-customized. So this is where the onboarding is automated, but the program is created from pre-made groups based on the client's needs and feedback. So this here is where a client will be onboarded automatically. They'll sign up and you go for an onboarding process. And to me, the way I say, yeah, that's because PTD rocks. It definitely does. So for me, when it comes to any kind of program, onboarding is probably one of the most important things you can do and get right. If you're going to spend any time in trying to get something right, make sure it's with the onboarding process, because that onboarding process is going to make the client feel better. You've got to think they've just invested in you and invested in themselves. So you need to make sure you give them some level of instant gratification, and that onboarding process allows you to do that. So if you can make that almost instantaneous after they've actually paid some money to you, they get all the information through to them that they need. Make sure it's not too much information. Keep it nice and simple. Break it down to little steps and just have it so they know exactly what to do. And I talk about this quite a bit over on our PT Ninja course. You need to make sure that everything you put inside, especially for onboarding, includes 5 different elements, which is what it is you actually want them to do, why you want them to do it, only briefly, not overcomplicate it, but keep it nice and simple. Remember, you need to speak in their language at all times when you're delivering content to clients. So why you're actually going to get them to do it, how they're actually going to do it. And then once you've done that, you need to explain when you need that to be done by, and then what they're going to do. So then they're going to check in to let you know they've done it, or are they just going to come back in the next day and follow the next task? Whatever it is, you're going to add some clarity in there. So it's really important that you do that with any of your onboarding processes, especially if you're going down this route here where you're going to automate that onboarding process. And then inside your account, what you'll do in PTD is you'll have different groups set up for different things. So one example might be, you might, simple version of this, let's say someone signs up and the person's onboarded and they work out from home and they are a plant-based eater. So inside PT Distinction, you can have a group that's set up that's just for plant-based nutrition. You can have a group that's set up for home workouts. And basically you just add them to those groups and everything just drip feeds out completely automatically. And then from there, you can then tweak those groups, just like we did on the level 4 section here. On the custom automation, we can tweak those groups to then suit. So this allows you to give a much more customized program, but very, very quickly. This is probably the most common one we see for more higher ticket, higher price programs. It allows you to adapt stuff very, very quickly for a client. Now, next up on here, we have customized, which is like fully customized. But even though this is fully customized, you still want to automate the onboarding process. The onboarding process, like I said already, is so important. If you can automate anything, that's what you should be automating, giving that instant gratification. So the onboarding process is automated, but from that point onwards, the entire program is then built purely around that client. So you might add in certain lessons, you might build workouts from scratch, whatever it is, that's what you'll tend to do. Like I say, some people go and do that, and that's a great way to start out if you're not massively comfortable with the software, or if you're kind of new to this, just learn to do the onboarding side of it. It gets you used to some of the automation, and then actually building stuff out for your clients, you can do yourself manually inside the software. And then when you do that, it helps you to get used to using things, and then you can kind of start working your way down, building groups around that, and then looking at maybe the custom automation side of it as well. So they're kind of the 6 different layers or levels, if you like, of online coaching. Pretty much everything you offer will fall somewhere into those 6 layers. And it's all about trying to find out what is the best kind of approach for you. It could be a mix. You could have 2 of these different approaches. A common one we tend to see is a lot of people go for number 4 and number 5 and offer them both, and have like a lower ticket, lower price version, and have like a higher price version. They can use that for downsells and things like that. That's actually quite common. You'll also see a lot of people do fully automated stuff to get started, just to get people through the door. In fact, we're just doing we've just signed up someone today, literally, for a Platinum Done For You service. And they're starting off with 9 fully automated programs that can be delivered over 12 weeks. We can do blocks of 4-week workouts. We'll get automatically drip fed out to the client. And we're building out an onboarding process for that, and then an upsell process, and brings them onto a sales call with the idea to move them into a semi-customized program over here, which is at a higher price. So you can do all this kind of stuff inside PTD, which is awesome. So when we're talking about the actual content we want to put into a program for a client, no matter what level we do it at, we need to basically think about this here. A lot of people struggle with taking what they do in person and moving it online. So now we understand these different levels of programs we can offer to clients. We need to think about what we're going to include inside it. And the best way to do this is to take a step back and ask yourself this question, is like, what do you really do when you PT a client in the gym? And really just take a moment to go and think about that. A lot of people just go, oh, I'll just write programs and give them some recipe books or whatever it is. But there's a lot more than that. You know, we have conversations with our clients. When they first come into sessions, we sit and have a conversation, figure out what they've been doing the night before. Now, they might see that as general chit chat, but what we're doing as coaches is we're trying to work out what state they're in. So how far we can push them doing these workouts. I mean, how many conversations do you have during the sets? When they're having a rest, you might have a conversation with them about something. You might give them some little pointers to correct technique. You might be talking about what they've been eating. All those conversations will happen. You'll be listening for keywords that they're coming up with, maybe about how they've not had much sleep the night before. All these kind of things you'll be picking up on, and you'll be giving advice back and pointing them in the right direction in order to help them get the best results possible. They're all things that you do in person. If you want to deliver an online program, especially if you want to go on those, if we look back at this again, if you want to go on either 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of levels, you need to understand what it is exactly you do in person to get those results for them. So all those little conversations you have, what are all those things you talk about? So if you're going to do anything, just take a step back and maybe write down all the different things you do and talk about. And that can help you put together a program that's going to help you get the best results for your clients. And the advantage of doing that, and then using one of these high levels up here, especially this customized one that I mentioned earlier, if you're kind of new to the game, by going for this customized here, you can onboard the client automatically. Then basically you can take all this information and start building that out for your client step by step. If you do that for 3 or 4 clients, it's going to allow you to start creating templates that you can then turn into groups that you can then use with your clients inside PTD. But one thing you'll notice as you go through this process of actually becoming an online trainer and using the likes of Peter Stinks or anything else really to deliver your service is you start to become more of a coach and not just a personal trainer. And I think that's an important thing to remember. As you work online, you'll start spending more time coaching a client, no matter what level they're working at, whether they're working in general population or at an athlete level. And that's because you're not there with them. And that's an important thing to remember, that you are not physically there with them to have those conversations. You're not physically there with them to get that kind of feedback from them, from their body language, from the conversations that they're having. So you need to be thinking more about what you can say with inside your programs to help get that client to think in a certain way. So if you're going to do anything, I'd spend time thinking about how you can become a better coach and not just a better personal trainer. And it's something you'll find as you start to go through this process as well. Now, I pulled this one up here because I really wanted to share this with you guys, because a lot of people struggle with once they've figured out what they want to kind of put into a program. We've made that list of all these things we want to put in, so we know kind of what level we want to work at, whether it's automated or more customized. And we know now all these different things that we do as a in-person trainer. We now want to get that out to our clients online. Now, the first thing, and I know I've done this myself. I mean, when I first decided to go online, I wrote a huge ebook, like literally about, I think it was like 48 pages long, of everything I did. I did that exercise we talked about there, and everything I talk, everything I did, I was like, this will be amazing. This is going to really help people get results. And it didn't. Like, it was just a bunch of information that didn't do anything. And that's the problem when you have all this information. A lot of people, when they go online for the first time, they just want to bombard their clients with information because either A, they think it gives them more value, and B, they think they're going to need everything in the first instance. And the truth is they don't actually need everything in the first instance. One of the things you can need to do is just slow things down a little bit. And the reason you have to slow things down a little bit is because A, people learn better that way. I mean, if I was to ask you to go and read War and Peace in a language you don't understand, you wouldn't be able to do it. But if I asked you to go and learn a few words in a language and then a sentence and then turn that into a paragraph, you'll learn to read War and Peace much quicker than I would if I just gave it you as a task to go and do. And that's the same principle here when it comes to online coaching. So what we can do here is we can actually approach things in a different way. And one of the things we talk about over PT Ninja and the online personal training certification is this assess, apply, accelerate approach. And it's this idea that the first part of your program will be about assessing the client, and we'll bring in information from that client, try and find out more about them. Yes, they're going to onboard. Yes, you're going to have a conversation with them. Yes, you might be asking forms and getting information from them, but they're telling you stuff. And there's a big difference between what a client will tell you compared to what is actually happening in reality. And that's not because the client is lying to you. Like that's it's probably nothing to do with that. They're probably telling you what their truth is. But remember, they're not experts. They don't know. So they're going to make their own assumptions. They're going to have their own view and opinion on things. And whenever people complete forms, for the most part, it's their opinion on something. So what we need to do is we always need to assess and try and find out where our client is. So normally the first part of that program is about assessing that client. Now, we don't want to spend forever assessing that client. We still need to start moving them forward. So what tends to happen is we might assess them for the first few weeks. As we gather that information in, we'll then start taking that information and look at how we can then apply that to help them get closer to their goals. And that's what that next section is. It's all about actually getting that information and applying that into the program. And what you're basically doing in that apply phase is you're testing out your diagnosis, if you like. You're looking at that, what you've been asking them to do in their assessment, and you think, okay, this is the best thing for them. Let's just test it out and see what happens. If it starts to work through that apply phase, then what you can do is you can accelerate that progress. So just like accelerating the car, you start off slow and it gets faster and faster and faster. That's the same kind of approach you want to do when it comes to working with your clients online. So if anything, just have a think about how you can take all that information, slow down how it's been delivered, and try and apply this approach here, this assess, apply, and then accelerate it. And if you deliver your workout programs, if you deliver your nutritional coaching in this format online, it's going to make it so much easier for you to coach your clients and to get better results from them. You know, you're going to get less questions from your clients, less hassle from them, and they're going to be much happier because they're going to have more clarity. They're going to see better results. They're going to know exactly what they need to do. It's a really good approach to have. The roasters just popped down here. It's exactly how I built my 12-week program that I just finished: assessing, applying, and then accelerating. Start slow and finish fast. Yeah, definitely the way to go from an online point of view. A lot of people do say sometimes, well, I need to get some quick results. They've just signed up and I need to get these quick results for them. And I can see that with some, why you might want to do that and why some trainers think that. Yes, there's some benefits of getting quick results for your clients in terms of motivation. But I'll quickly talk about motivation whilst we're on about it. So if you get your onboarding process right, and you're giving them stuff to do and you structure this right, you don't have to get them super quick results really, really quickly. It's all about how you onboard them and how you sell to them that's going to make all the difference. Now, if you're going out there and you're just saying, all right, I want to get them some really fast results and then get on with doing whatever program I want to do with them, that's relying basically on motivation, because you want to give them fast results, because you want to keep them motivated. There's your biggest problem. The problem is motivation. Motivation is really probably one of the worst things you can rely on as a coach, especially as an online coach, because you have literally zero control over motivation. Because motivation is really about, in essence, it's about willpower. And let's say you have a bad night and you roll out on the wrong side of bed, you're going to have no motivation, and that's nothing you can control. There's nothing you can do to help that person become more motivated because they've had a bad day. If something's happened at work or something happened in the family or something happened, whatever, it doesn't matter, because those things, all these other factors, I mean, there's literally thousands of factors that can affect motivation for a client. So yes, you might give them a couple of weeks of something to go some really intense workouts that's not really sustainable, but it's going to give them great results. Yes, you can do that, but that's relying again on them being motivated. So using that long term isn't really going to help. But when you start slowing things down and simplifying the process, them getting results doesn't matter. It doesn't rely on motivation. It doesn't rely on willpower. And when you can actually set up a program that doesn't rely purely on motivation or to help them get the best results possible, then you've got control. And that's the important thing. You need to have a level of control to ensure your clients get the best results. So applying this assess, apply, accelerate approach to your programs means you don't have to become completely reliant on motivation to get your clients some level of results. And again, if you're worried about that, just make sure your onboarding process and your sales process just identifies this is the approach you're actually going to go and take. Yes, if you want to do fast results, then you can go back and look at that kind of automated stuff that we talked about earlier. This kind of stuff here can work well for fast, like a fast approach, if you like, and then upsell them into something else after. But in terms of actually delivering a program, a full program itself, I'd think about starting it a bit slower and then building your way into it, just like we discussed earlier. Oslerosa saying, Danny, I think for most people, just making small changes to what they eat will get them results, and why I start assessing their food. Yeah, definitely. I think there's we haven't really got it on this particular presentation here, but one of the things we talk about in the course is the difference. This kind of chart that you see on the screen now, in the 101 course and in the certification, we actually talk about the differences between different types of clients. So we talk about how this assess, apply, accelerate looks for general population versus athletes, for example. And there's a slightly different way how you deliver things. Now, for most people, when it comes to online coaching, I think most people inside here as well, using P2D, will probably be delivering to general population. I think exactly what you said there, making those small changes matter. And even for athletes, there's obviously certain things you'll need to do with them in terms of programming that they'll need to do because they've got a very specific goal they're going to go for. But you'll be amazed how often just these small changes that they can make the biggest difference. And even if you look back to the likes of the GB cycling team, like a few Olympics ago now, they became the best in the world, and they wasn't the best in the world before. And it's almost like they came out of nowhere. And they came out of nowhere because of a change in approach in terms of how they were coaching. And they were making the smallest, most minute changes that had the biggest impact possible. And it's those small changes that took them from being an average cycling team to being literally consistently Olympics after Olympics, world champions after world championships, the best in the world. And that was through making small changes. So even at an athlete level, it can still work as well. And again, that's why that coaching approach is important. You need to stop thinking about becoming more of a coach than an actual personal trainer. But yeah, there's something to think about on there as well. But yeah, I think you're definitely right there, LaRosa. It's a key thing really is just keeping it simple, assessing the food or whatever it is you want to assess, and just applying some small changes and then just building on that once it's been done. Definitely the best way to go about things. So what I want to do here is I'm going to show you a breakdown of an example custom automated program. So this here would be, if I just go back to it, would be this level here, level 4. So this is actually the one that we provide in the online personal training certification and the PT Ninja 101 course. It's actually already pre-set up so you can actually copy it directly into your PT Distinction account if you want to. And again, we show you how to use it all. But this is just an idea of how you can actually break things down when it comes to slowing the process down. So like in week 1, we just talk about onboarding, we do some goal setting, managing expectations. We start doing a food diary. And at the end of week 1, we actually get the client to start making some changes. The whole idea here is, one, it takes pressure off you, but it has a nice week-long onboarding process, which is all doing that first part of the assessing stage, if you like, finding out information from them. But also what we're doing there is we're getting the client involved in that decision-making process. We're just asking them what changes they think they should make. So it allows them to go back and review what they do. And this, I think, is really important when it comes to online coaching. It needs to be a level of autonomy in there, because especially with general population. Remember, you're not there with them all the time. So if you can get them thinking for themselves, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get better results. Week 2, this is again from a nutrition point of view, but it's the same principle for workouts as well. Like in the first week, we'll start assessing what they're actually like inside the gym. I won't just give them a workout straight away because I don't know how good they are. They've told me what their experience level is, but I don't know. I've never met them. So that first week, I'll give us some basic things to start assessing, maybe some basic movements for them to do to see how they're actually getting on. And again, ask them what changes they would like to make in there. Get them involved with that process. Week 2, in this example here, we're going to go into just doing some breakfast tasks. So just focus on breakfast first. And again, improving some of the extra workouts. So you can see they've actually started introducing the first or applying those first workouts into the program after we assessed them from the first one. Start tracking their results again. And then week 3, we then introduce lunches, how they can actually come and make their lunches, how they can actually design their own meals around it. So instead of actually giving them meal plans, actually get them involved, going to come up with like 3 go-to meals they can use. Week 4, exactly the same thing again, into dinner or evening meal, get them to come up with 3 go-to evening meals for them. So by the end of those first 4 weeks, we've actually got them in there creating their own meal plans based on stuff they actually enjoy, taking a responsibility for it as well. And then week 5, this one here has got like a breakfast test in there. This here is just to help them understand a bit more about how different macronutrients can affect their body. Whether you use this or not is kind of dependent on the type of client that you have. This works particularly well if you've got relatively new athletes as well, or people that are trying to do something a bit more advanced to get them to understand more about how the different macronutrient splits can affect how they feel and then affect their performance. It's also a really useful test for you as a coach. If you're going to actually give them some specific macronutrients, you can actually start assessing that as well. Laroche just put down here, my clients don't even get workouts until week 4 of the program. That's awesome. I think it's really important that we talk about this a lot, especially on the course, about understanding who you work with. And a lot of the time, you don't really need to go straight into workouts, especially for general population. Like, don't feel that you have to give too much to your clients. Understanding who you want to work with and working backwards from there, and just thinking, okay, what's first the minimal viable dose I need to give my clients in order to get the best result possible, and only give them things that's actually going to help them move them closer to the goals. That's all you need to do. If you could do those 2 things, then you're on to a winner with your programs. So only like 6 splints number phases, and then the next part of the phase here is a 12-week program. We just get them tracking their food, give them some calorie targets, and then they finish off with the calorie targets for the last part of the program. So the idea here is you can kind of see how it starts slow. It assesses where they're at in this first phase here. So we've got this kind of assessment phase here, but we still get them to do stuff as well. We're still introducing new things. We're getting to come up with some changes, introducing bits, but still assessing throughout that program. Then in this next phase here, we're upping the ante with the workouts. We're starting to look at their tracking their food more. We're using the food tracker inside PTD. And then down here, we're getting on to actually setting calorie targets towards the end. So now they've had a practice tracking their food with the food diary. Now what they can do is we can set targets for them, and those targets are what they're going to try and hit for the remainder of the program. So starting off slow, applying assessing them, applying that information, see how they actually react to that information, those tasks, and then we accelerate that throughout the program towards the end on both the nutrition side and on the workouts. So this bit's an interesting thing that I like to talk about. Is one of the biggest questions we tend to get is, well, if I'm starting really, really slow on here, how's my client going to like get these results? How many contact points do I get with my clients? And a lot of people also think, well, I can't possibly get the same kind of results online as what I can from my in-person clients. Well, let's think about what actually gets results. You know, there's a level of programming and there's the level of like nutrition that tends to be involved in helping somebody get results. Now, whichever way you look at it, whether you're working with athletes or general population, those things that they do, they're kind of the tools to help them get a result. But what really matters is their adherence to those particular tools that you're using. So we know we can write the best program in the world and give them the best nutrition plan in the world, but unless they actually stick to it, they're not going to get a result from that. So it's our job as personal trainers and coaches to help them get to stick to that program, to increase adherence. So we can write any program we want to, but we have to increase adherence and keep that adherence level high. And when you're doing that in person with a client, let's say you're just working with a client in person in the gym, you're not doing a hybrid model or anything like that, and you're probably going to get maybe 2 to 3 touch points per week. So when they come in for the session, that's when you're having those conversations with them. Now, let's compare that to the online program I've just shown you there. The online program I've shown you there is slowly drip feeding content to them, is helping them understand how to do things themselves, and it's slowly accelerating that process over time. So it becomes easy for them. Just like I talked about the reading War and Peace in another language, starting off slow and building our way up to it. So it's not over complicated for them. But through that and using the app, and again, I'll show you what this looks like inside PTD in a minute. We set up inside PTD, we have check-ins that we can do, we have habits we can check in on, we've got results tracking we can do. There's all these different touch points built inside the app that they're doing. So each week here, you can see all those different touch points compared to what you get as an in-person client doing 3 times a week. Loads of different ones there. And every time there's a touch point there, that's the level of accountability. So you can have them check in. And as they check in each day to say they've done something, that's something you're helping them adhere to. Because they're having this daily accountability there, even though it's literally only just for a few seconds, it's there in their mind. It's going to keep them on track. So they're more likely to get better results from this because you've got all these very small, tiny, minute touch points that are just reminding to keep them on track throughout the day, to the point where they won't even probably notice it, but subconsciously it'll keep them on track. And it's this reason why online training can be so effective when it's structured correctly. Now, I think this is going to lead on nicely from what LaRosa said. I've just managed to drag it in from another one about the actual content you put inside your programs themselves, and how, LaRosa said there about just making small changes about what they eat and then helping them adapt their program from there. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. Like, whenever we're asking a client to do something inside any of our programs that we put together, we need to approach in a very particular way. And one of the ways we talk about over in the course is this SMART approach. So the idea here, it's SMART: simple, measurable, accountable, results-driven, and transparent. With all these things here, if you can put them into if you can apply this to everything you add into your programs, you're going to start getting better results for your clients because they're more likely to adhere to those things that you're adding in. So just make sure your program contains the minimal viable dose. This is the same as like if you go and see a doctor, for example. So you go to a doctor and you've got something, you need some tablets for something, and they're not going to give you a massive box of tablets and say, here, just go and have all these. What they'll do is they'll give you the tablets and a prescription to go with it. So it's this idea where you need to take 3 tablets a day after every single meal. That there is the minimal viable dose to get the result for you. However, for somebody else, it might be, I need you to take 2 tablets 3 times a day after every meal, because they're a different person. And that's what this approach is here. It's all about the minimal viable dose in order to get the best result possible, because anything above that is in essence a waste of energy and a waste of time for your client. We want to give them as little as possible and still get them exactly the same result as what we would do if we gave them a load of stuff. That's what we're looking for with the content we put in. It needs to be measurable, so both for the client and the program KPIs. I'm not going to talk too much about program KPIs here. Again, we talk about that quite a lot over on the course. But what you really need to understand on this one here is it needs to be measurable. So everything you put in there needs to be measurable. A good friend of mine, Tim Drummond, he always used to say, what gets measured gets managed. And that's very, very true. Like, unless you can measure it, you can't manage it. If you can't manage it, then it doesn't really need to be in there, because again, you're not there with that client. You're not going to get all this kind of feedback just by being with that person and reading their body language. That's out the window when it comes to online training. So everything you need to put in for a program needs to be measurable for them, because that's all you've got to go. You've only got data to help you get results. Next thing here, accountable. It needs to hold the client accountable daily. So whatever you put in there needs to be something they can hold themselves accountable for. Just giving them some resources for something's okay, but really needs to be something from there that they can action. Recipe books are great. They're good to try and help clients. Guides to help them with shopping and things like that, again, they're okay. But you need to make sure there's something they know how to apply those guides or apply those recipe books. Just giving them to them as a bunch of resources is kind of pointless, because realistically, they can get all that stuff for free through Google. And that's an important thing to remember here. You need to be different from that. So yes, all these resources are useful, but make sure they know how to apply those and hold themselves accountable to whatever information is in those resources that you want to give them. It needs to be results driven. This one's always something that's kind of shocked me a little bit. So yeah, results driven is everything needs to progress towards the goal of the client. Like I say, I always get shocked by this sometimes. Some of the content we get sent through for our Done For You service, I always ask, like, well, how's this going to help the client get the result? And sometimes the coach or the trainer can't tell me. And I always question, well, does it need to be there then? Because they're paying you to get a result. So don't put stuff in there that not going to help them get a result. It's just bump otherwise. And the only reason you're putting bump in there is because you feel that it's adding more value to your program. So all you're doing is underselling and undervaluing yourself by adding that in. And the next one is transparent. So everything should be crystal clear. Like clarity is key to everything. Clarity is key for marketing. Clarity is key for sales. When you're making a sales call to somebody, or anything, sales on your website, whatever it is. But it's very, very important when it comes to delivering coaching content online. You need to be super clear so your client knows exactly what they need to do. There is a way we can do that. I'm going to quickly show you in a second. Again, we talk about this in a lot more detail in the course, but I'll go through it briefly on here. But if you can add clarity, your client's going to do it. If there's any confusion, anything they're not sure about, they're probably not going to do it, or they're not going to do it correctly, or they're going to put it off doing it because they're not sure. Like humans are much better when they know exactly what they need to do and when they need to go and do it and how they're going to do it. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Sarah's just put down there, I hear this in my sleep, what you measured. Yeah, it never shuts up about that. So I'm going to talk about that clarity again a little bit here. So this is a simplified version of it. You can break this down to a few more steps. But this here is the what, why, how, when, and then approach to content. So every piece of content you put in for a client, everything you get your client to do or ask them to do, you should explain to them what they should be doing. Why will it help the client? Now, quickly on that why section here, this is not about the science and the details around it. Remember, any language that you use needs to suit your client. Think about who you're talking to. You wouldn't go and teach biomechanics to some primary school children. I'm not saying your clients are primary school children. I'm not saying you know what you have to teach biomechanics. My point is you need to understand who your audience is and who you're speaking to. So when you're explaining why it's going to help the client, make sure it's about how it's helping them. Don't worry about all the other stuff. It's about how it's going to help them, because that's what's going to make them do it. They want to know why it's going to help them get the result that they've asked for from you and what you promised them. Next one is how. How can the client complete this task? When should the client be doing this? So again, making it clear, so when they need to do this for, and then what to actually expect next. So that's how they're going to check in, or when to come and actually check in for the next task on there. Carl's mentioned on here, I missed the start of this, looking forward to the replay. Cool, man. Well, if anyone's watching the replay, by the way, please just drop replay in the comments. And if you've got any questions, just feel free to ask away, even if you are watching this on the replay. So can you get great results with automated programs? Yes, you can. I want to just quickly talk about, again, I mentioned this a little bit about automated programs already. So I just want to recap some of this. That last bit we talked about there is kind of the custom automation, that level 4 that we talked about earlier. This one here is all about fully automated programs. What you need to remember with this is, like I mentioned at the start, you need to understand who your avatar is. And you need to know everything they need to get a result. Like you should be able to tell me exactly step by step what they need to get a result for that particular avatar. You need to know all the barriers they all face and when. And then you ask yourself, have you ran this program before? Like, have you actually delivered results to these clients before? Like the amount of times I've been asked to set up automated programs on our Done For You service, and they can't tell me step by step what it is. And I go, well, have you actually ran this kind of a program? Like, have you run a customized version of this program for people before? And they go, no. That's really one of the first steps you need to kind of be doing, actually breaking this down, running a program for the client and adapting it for them in order to try and find out what you need to put in there if you want to run an automated version of a program. Think about how many variables you change. The more variables you change, the less automated it can be. And there are some levels of automation you can do inside PTD with some third-party things as well, where you can actually get clients to fill in forms, external forms out of PTD that can be embedded in it, and they can answer certain questions, and that can automatically update the program for them. So yes, there are some variables you can include inside a program where you can actually have it fully automated as well. That is possible. But obviously, the more variables you have, the more complex that becomes, and then you have to question if it's that complex, then maybe we should be doing more customized stuff for clients. So you want to try and keep those variables to as minimal as possible. And then, have you repeatedly got great results from following this process for your clients? They're the kind of things you want to be thinking about if you want to run automated programs. And then this here is automation should come last, not first. You need to start getting these results for these clients first, and then look at what things you can automate. Because all that will happen is you'll start automating processes that you think are going to work for your client, but you've not tested them out first. And it's an absolute pain in the backside to change automations once they're actually set up. So if you want really good automations, try and make sure you know pretty much exactly what you want to happen before you start getting them set up. So talking about automated programs, a couple of things to remember if you are running these things here is that if you're running an automated program, you're not really spending too much time with your clients. So you need to have really great sales systems in place, good tech support, because that's where most of your questions are going to be. You want to have some kind of daily touch points with inside the automated program, kind of talked about already. And normally with automated programs, you can generally expect a high churn rate if you don't have a nailed down avatar that you're working with. So the more nailed down your avatar is, the less your churn rate will be on there. If you're not sure what churn rate is, it's just the amount of clients that are going through your program. So let's say someone comes into your program and then leaves, that's the churn. That's basically what a churn rate is. Now that's supported automated programs. So this is that step below the custom automated one we talked about. This is basically, you're going to follow the same kind of steps we did for the automated one, but it's also going to include a community. With these kind of like supported automated programs, communities are quite important. And that's one of the reasons people actually stay with you long term. So you want to make sure you nurture that community in there. You want to be looking at using daily content in your community, live Q&As in there, and having good support systems where, how are you going to systemize your process in that community? So when people are asking questions, how and when do you respond back to them? Having those systems there is really important. And part of that is in setting expectations. Your clients who sign up for this need to know what you expect from them and what they should expect from you. And then also it's a good idea with these to have good referral systems already set up. So you can kind of automate a lot of this as well. You can automate this community, this content, the systems for support and the systems for referrals as well. And you can do all this through PTD. And those semi-automated programs, again, this is the next one up. This is where you'll give feedback through the app. So again, this is one just below that number 4 that we talked about mainly today. So you're basically going to follow exactly the same as the automated program before, but you're going to offer weekly feedback. This could be through like a form inside PTD. You check adherence using the data inside the dashboards, and then you can give feedback either in a group format if you want to. The group format feedback's actually quite good because you can give individual feedback to clients through the app. But then what you can do is look at the overall data using things like leaderboards that we've talked about inside in the group already. And also there's another video coming out on Thursday, I think Tim's going to put in, which is going to go into a bit more detail about leaderboards as well, and using some of that data, which will be really useful because you can use that data to help feedback into the group and get an overall picture of how everybody's doing. Also, I have to put down here, I feel so much better now that I've nailed my avatar, makes marketing so much easier as well as building a program. Yeah, it's a huge thing. Why one of the reasons we're always like nailing on about it inside the course, because like once you get your avatar and you understand who it is from an online point of view, it makes a huge difference. I mean, do you necessarily need an avatar if you're working in person? Not necessarily. But when you're online, it's going to make life so much easier for you to nail that down. And yes, I know it can be tricky. And yes, a lot of people do think that, they're going to alienate other people. But I promise you, just don't worry about that. There's a lot of people on this planet, don't worry about alienating a few of them. And also you've got to bear in mind that from a marketing point of view, you're competing against a huge amount of trainers out there. So the more narrow you are, the more your message is going to get through all that noise, and you're going to attract the right people into your program. So you're going to get more clients by narrowing down your avatar. And you're also going to get better results for your clients by narrowing down your avatar. And you're also going to have to do less work getting better results for your clients by narrowing down your avatar. So it makes a big difference. And like Larissa, I've changed it a million times and found one that is stuck and it feels natural speaking to. I mean, that's the key thing. Like you'll change your avatars all the time, but the best thing you can do is try and find one that's you resonate with and is going to help you basically in there. So what I want to quickly do is just going to show you what this looks like inside PTD from a PTD's PT Distinction point of view. So I'm just going to head back over here, right back to the start. And I want to show you a very simple setup, which is basically following this custom automation one here. And I'm actually going to put it in and I'm going to run it as an automated program. I'm going to show you the same program that you can set up inside PTD that allows you to do all of these on here. So all levels, you can have one program that allows you to cover all levels on here. This is one of the reasons why we focus on using this here in the 101 course and over on the certification, because it means you can cover all aspects of PT and get a really good understanding of it. So what we've done over here is I'm going to head into PT Distinction. Hopefully I've not been logged out. There we go, we're in. And what I've done is I've set up a bunch of groups and I've got a pre-made package set up inside PTD. And down here, you can see I've got it set up with this 12-week flagship program, all these different groups in. We stack them all together to create a program. And inside there's all the content that we need. So when someone starts this pre-made package, everything's going to run out automatically. So basically what this is here is this automated program. And all I need to do is come inside here and I can fill in a form. Now this is a pre-made package form, but I'm going to use it on, I've just taken the link out of this and just put it onto a blank page, but of course this can be on your website or anywhere else you want to put it for people to sign up with. I'm going to put an email address in there, little password in, time zone. Away we go. And I'm going to head back into PTD. So what's actually going to happen is that form's going to fire off and trigger off that pre-made package. And then inside PT Distinction, oops, so the form's gone off there. Inside here, if I go to my clients, and I'm going to go down here and put date added in, I can see my clients now automatically being added in. So I've done nothing. I've not touched anything inside PTD. Up in the group section here, all these groups have now been added in with all the coaching content in. You can see down here, if I go to my setup, I've got my workout programs, all drip feeding out to the client, my coaching content, all drip feeding out to the client, all my tracking is set up, all my forms are set up, and everything's on the schedule with all the reminders, emails have gone out from the message center, everything's just done, completely automatic. So that there is now this automated program. Now, if I want to do a semi-automated program, all I would have done, and which is what I've got on this one here, is that welcome document that first goes out. If I go onto the schedule here, come down on this welcome document here, all I've done is I've included a little link at the bottom to a Facebook group. So now it becomes a supported program. So automated program, they come and join a Facebook group, I'm helping them through there. So one very simple change to that program now takes it to this next level. We're then going to talk about semi-automated. So program delivery is automated, but support is through in-app feedback. So all I've got inside here for my in-app feedback is I've introduced in the group section a weekly review form inside here. So inside this weekly review form, I'm going to remove that and we'll add it back in manually just so you can see it. And again, this all can be automated as well. Let's go and find our weekly review form in here. There we go. It's going to go and add that in now. And all I've done now is I've got some check-ins automatically built in. So that's going to copy that over, copy my forms over, copy my check-in points in. You can see here, I've got my little check-in forms here and my forms on here as well for it. And that's also linked to the in-app messaging. So I've actually got as well, if I go into my message center, it's added in some messages inside here to get my clients to do a review through the in-app messenger. So now very quickly, I've gone to this one, semi-automated. So I'm offering feedback through the app. Next thing now is my custom automation. So this means here, program's being delivered automatically, but I want to adapt stuff for a client. So let's say they've signed up. They've done that onboarding week with our clients using this first week in here. I'm thinking, okay, well, we've done that onboarding week now. This particular client here, they're plant-based, so they can't follow this particular work at this particular nutrition program here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my groups in the top corner here, and I'm going to go and remove my coaching content group. I'm just going to go and replace that with my plant-based coaching content group, and that's it. So again, we've worked our way up. We've now started adapting this here, going to this one. So automatically delivered, but we're now just adapting it to our client. Maybe also in here, we want to set some calorie targets for my client. So I can go inside here as well. Again, adapting this program, I can edit the content and I can just type in my calorie targets for that client in there and hit save. We now have calorie targets set for that client again, just adapting it, but the program is actually generally automated, just making a few changes and tweaks. And really, that's kind of the same thing we do here with semi-customized. The only difference is that when a client signs up in those pre-made packages, we won't actually have any groups added in. So we do exactly the same thing here. We add in the groups, we change them and adapt them based on their needs. But all we do different in terms of how they onboard inside PTD is in the pre-made package, where at the moment we have all these groups set up down here. We just remove them. So all we have the onboarding groups inside here. Once they sign up to that onboarding, once they sign up to that package now with the onboarding groups, that's all they'll get. And all you do is you add in the extra groups based on what their needs are. And that's exactly the same for this one. We have exactly the same package for them to sign up on level 6. Apart from inside their account, you'll actually just start building stuff inside their account. So instead of using groups, what you do is you will just build stuff out using the add button inside here and adding in any program templates or anything else that you want to add in for that particular client, just like so. So you can see that even though you have all these different levels here, using something like PT Distinction is going to make it so much easier for you to deliver that content to your clients and do it at any kind of level that you want as well. So there you go. Has anyone got any questions at all about what we've been talking about there? I know I've gone through quite a bit on there at the moment. Awesome. That's nice and easy, wasn't it? Cool. Well, that's it from me. Cool. I think I'm all done here in that case. Unless anyone's got any other questions about what I've been through, again, just please let us know inside the comments. If you're watching on the replay, again, please let us know inside the comments as well. I just want to quickly mention as well, we're doing something at the moment. We've done a big update over at PT Ninja, and we've added now an online personal training certification to the PT Ninja 101 course, just to help basically take all your skills in in-person training and apply them online and using them through PT Distinction. So a lot of the stuff we've covered on here today gets expanded on it a lot inside the course. So if you did find that useful, please come in and take a look at what we've actually put together in there. But in order to try and help as many people as possible, we've also introduced a new service alongside that course, which is our PTD audit. So if you're interested and you would like either myself or Jed or one of the PT Ninja team to actually sit down on a call with you for 15 minutes and have a look inside your PT Distinction account, look at the systems you've got in place, and give you some strategies that you can use based on what we talked about there to actually improve the systems inside your PTD. So you can have a look at like what group structure you can have, what packages you might want to have, how you put structure to your content, whatever it is, we can maybe try and help you with that. Now, it's completely free. It's not going to cost you anything, of course. So if you do want to just jump on a call with me or Jed, and we can take a look through your PT Ninja account, see if we can actually help with how you can improve it, make your systems a little bit better, and how you can make the most of the software, please do let us know. Just type into the comments system check, and I'll send you through a link so you can book in for a call with me, and then we'll just run through your setup and take a look at it and see if anything we can do to help and support you with that. Anyway, that's it from me. As always, you watch on the replay, any questions at all, please do let us know. And like I say, if you want to book in for the audit, again, just let us know with a system check below in the comments, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.